Welcome to Lawyer Business Advantage. This podcast is dedicated to helping attorneys earn more money, get better clients, and spend more time with family. I'm your host, Alay Yajnik, founder of Law Firm Success Group. Smart business guidance for small law firms begins in 3, 2, 1. Hey everyone, welcome to Lawyer Business Advantage. Alay Yajnik here with Chelsea Pagan. Good to see you, sort of. I guess you can see us.
Yeah.
And good to talk with you. It's been a while since we've kind of caught up. So, Chelsea, what's been going on with you?
Yeah, I feel like I have the same conversation, but in so many different ways with people recently because it just depends on, how we're engaging, right? Whether or not I go directly to how busy work is or what's going on with my 2.5-year-old or just where am I traveling next. So, you know, things have been really crazy. It's been a busy January, a fun January. But I have a almost 3-year old. She turns 3 in May, and we're in, potty training mode, and she's in preschool, and there's so much going on with this toddler in her life where like I always realized my life was going to get crazy busy, when I decided to have a child, but I didn't understand I was going to be so consumed with development of this child and all the changes on a regular basis that I think everybody is super interested in what she's doing. Like, oh my gosh, you'll never believe what she did this day, what she said, what she's doing, how funny she is. So I'm in that mode right now with my 3-year-old where I feel like everybody needs to know exactly how amazing and smart she is. So that's keeping me really, really busy at the moment is just all of the new things with an almost 3-year-old. And I just feel like that just makes time go by so much faster, right? Like at this age.
It does. It just whips by. And I had kind of a tale of two situations with my kids. My son is 17 now. We're actually looking at colleges for him. He's applied and he's waiting to hear back. And so we're all on pins and needles for that. And my daughter's 14, so she's a freshman at the same high school. And they're not that far apart, like 2.5 years,
Mhm.
but their personalities are completely different, and the experiences we had with them when they were younger were completely different. So my son was really challenging. He had colic or borderline colic or something like that, and so it took a lot of energy.
Mhm.
And my daughter, on the other hand, was very easy in comparison. And so it's like, man, that first year and a half of my son was really, really long.
Yeah.
The first year and a half of my daughter just flew by.
Yeah.
And then as they've grown, just the years just keep passing faster and faster and faster. And it's cool. You'll really get a kick out of seeing your daughter grow into an actual person, with, her own thoughts and beliefs and opinions.
Yeah, and I share pretty openly the story because it comes up a lot. My husband and I have been married 10 years last year, it'll be 11 this year. But when we got together, we didn't want to have children. We weren't having children. That was our plan. I never just had that desire. I just didn't picture myself as having children. I pictured myself owning a business. I pictured myself accomplishing, a laundry list of goals I set out for myself at like 16, right? Um, and life changes, right? Life evolved. I got a little bit older. We lost my mother-in-law who we were very close to, and things just kind of like the universe just starts telling you something, right? Whatever that is. And sometimes you hear one thing and it means another, who knows? But for us, it just started to feel like there was this pull, there was something missing. And I said, look, our lives have changed. We're in this new place, and I feel like this is a good shift for us. Obviously, the best decision I ever made. I couldn't have guessed that it would be the best decision, right? You just don't know how you're going to experience it. And all the things were so easy. I had easy pregnancy. She's a great sleeper. She was the easy baby, just like you were describing with your daughter. She was very easy. And then she's I wouldn't say she ever hit like a terrible twos dynamic, but she just is very opinionated and will make it very known when she does not want to do something. And then some days it's just like easy breezy fun and we're laughing. So I just feel like she's two different children on a regular basis. And so that's just the navigation I think of having a toddler, but also balancing that with wanting to do a good job as a mom, wanting to still be, a supporting and loving wife, and then needing to be an attentive boss and lawyer and professional and friend. Those things are, just it takes a very specific type of person to do all those things well. And more often than not, people put them pressure on themselves to be perfect in all of those modes, and you just can't be, right? Like sometimes I'm gonna be a great mom, but I'm not a great friend, or I might not be as great of a wife that week because I'm focused on being a really great mom. Sometimes this slips because my work needs to take precedent. And I always just feel like that is what people need to get used to. And I'm just now starting to understand that that's okay, right? Like it's okay not to be an A+ student in all subjects all the time. It's okay to be a C one week and an A. It's kind of like that's the measure because otherwise something's gonna crack, right? And I've had weeks where I felt like I was gonna crack because I was trying to keep up with, my own expectations of what we need to be. But overall, when you sit back, you just end up having a lot more fun when you have a toddler than I remember having before I did. Things were more serious. Now, we play dress up and we run at the park and we laugh and we eat more ice cream. All the things that you should do in life, but that you don't necessarily make time for. So that's what I find is so interesting in this toddler chapter, even though all the chapters have been great so far.
They're
Every
all
year, every
interesting in
summer.
their own way, for sure.
Totally.
Um,
Totally.
it's really kind of wild because I think culture has always been very judgmental with parents, right? When if your parents, you're gonna have people that are gonna judge you, and there's always been a lot of pressure, particularly on mothers, but on both parents, really, in terms
Yeah.
of rearing their children. And it's gotten more complicated with, double incomes, multiple roles, all the different things that are going on. And you mentioned the grades, and I think that's the way a lot of people look at things. They think about, oh my gosh, how am I doing in this area of my life? Am I getting an A, B, or C, or F, and whatever? And they do put a lot of pressure on themselves, and it's too bad because those are very short-term measures.
Right.
Really short term, but the pressure is not. Like once you start thinking of yourself as inadequate in one area or another, not only is that harder for you to change the perception, but it starts to become reality and it might bleed into other areas of your life as well.
Hmm.
Versus, I love the approach you're taking, which is just, kicking back and not kicking back, sorry, but just relaxing, taking some pressure off yourself and being in the moment and enjoying the things you can and understanding that things are not going to be perfect. And some days you're going to be doing really well in some areas, other days you won't be. But it's really more about the experience and less about holding yourself to a standard.
Yeah, a good example of this, I think, really came out for me, or how I kind of started to process these different roles that I play and how to quote unquote stop scoring myself, right? And keeping tabs is last year, my girlfriend and I started training together for half marathon. That was like, okay, in January, we started training for half marathon. I hadn't done one in a couple years. And it slowly escalated through the year of, okay, we were doing this race and that weight race. Then we started doing these more like hybrid fitness competitions and signing up for all this stuff. And our training compounded. We were working out more. We had a very specific training schedule. We were gone a little bit more on a Saturday or a Sunday because of races. And we really invested in ourselves in a new chapter that wasn't necessarily on the books the year before. So we added this layer. And I think our husbands felt it a little bit. I definitely felt it a little bit. I'm still feeling it. I mean, we're still training. I have a big race next week. It's like all these things. But we started to realize that we just added something for ourselves. And that meant that the attention we give to other people had to pull back just enough to give us that. And that doesn't mean we're failing in those areas. It just means we're shifting things around, but we know that it was hard on our families in certain ways for us to prioritize a goal for ourselves. It's not forever. Maybe it will be, but last year definitely was a very particular year for the two of us. But I got to have some memories that were just for myself, experiences for myself, challenges that I got to accomplish that I couldn't necessarily share with them in all the ways, right? They got the benefit of me feeling strong and healthy and energized, but I was doing this for myself, and I don't regret that. but that's a choice I had to make, right? To balance it all out. And at the end of the day, you can't always measure in each individual day how much you spent time with people, each individual week, each individual month, or even year. We do have time in our lives. Yes, life is short. I know people say that all the time, but it's everything doesn't have to be so immediate, right? And now I feel like with this new year, we're a little bit more settled and making it all work and having a lot of fun. And my husband and I are in a new groove with how we're adding all these other things that are on our plate, right? We have preschool now, we have my workout schedule, we have his new work schedule. And if the right teammates, right, the right partnership will figure all these things out. The friends that you have in your life will find ways to fall into your life. My business partner in the same way. We're more supportive. We're spending more time together in more thoughtful ways because our lives are so busy. So, it's just kind of the ebbs and flows of what getting older is and different interests and
Yeah.
how you choose to project. So it's been a lot of fun this past year, and January's already been a lot, but all good things.
Good. Good. It reminds me of I think this was in Atomic Habits by James Clear, which is, if you haven't read it, you should. It's a fantastic book about building healthy habits. Even if you're not interested in it, check it out. I think it was in this book where he talks about the four burner principle. And if you picture a stove, you've got four burners on your stove, and those are, each one represents a different area of your life. And what everyone tries to do is they try and get all four burners, having something on all four burners at the same time, basically trying to pour all your attention into so many areas of your life. And he said it's totally okay to only do two or three burners for a while, you know,
Right.
and then you
Mhm.
can move things around. You don't have to be, 100% in every area of your life all the time. And I think that's what you're mentioning, and it definitely bears out. And I can see that too with what's going on with me. Last year was pretty tough. I don't know if I told you, Chelsea. We had some family stuff going on. So lost my father-in-law, lost my mom. It was a hard year, and so I felt great going into 2025 because it's a brand new year.
Mhm.
All that stuff is behind us, and we're still dealing with it, of course, but we can move forward. And I've had a ton of, like, I haven't had this much energy probably in, like, I don't know, 3 years or so. Because my mom was sick for 4 years. My
Yeah.
father-in-law was sick for two, and they overlap. So, a lot of really cool things going on. Um, in the business, and the personal life, it's been great to be able to have the energy to prioritize myself a little bit, like you're mentioning.
Yeah.
Getting back to taking a month off this year, which would be great. And we launched the attorney roundtable in Law Firm Success Group, and that's off to a really good start. We have a great core of attorneys there. Um, and then something I wanted to mention, I don't think I've even mentioned this to you yet, but um, it's the start of the year, and what I like to do usually is I like to do some sort of strategic planning webinar to start the year. And we go through the
Mhm.
one-page strategic plan, which you know pretty well.
Yeah.
So I wanted to do it, and I think we're going to do it in February. We're going to charge a little bit, and all the proceeds are going to go to a nonprofit that is helping people who are affected by the wildfires in Los Angeles.
Oh,
So
wow.
I'm looking forward to getting that going. Yeah, I'm just got to get it scheduled here, but that's going to be forthcoming. I think it's
Yeah.
going to be a good win because the attorneys will get a lot out of it who attend. Obviously, the money goes for a good cause, and
Yeah.
I love teaching, so it should be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I mean, you're so good at balancing how to piece all that together, right? Because it's not just one thing that makes either a lawyer, business owner, but especially law firm owner successful, right? It's how you find the right tools. Sometimes it's business coaching. Sometimes it's talking with other attorneys and brainstorming and collaborating. Sometimes it's just focusing on your individual goals. And I feel like you do a really good job between, all the different things that you provide opportunities for people to come together to be able to figure out what's going to work for them because it's not one size fits all.
Absolutely not. For some
I
people, it's a
love that.
podcast or it's, hanging out with other people, whatever it happens to be.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, that's
so
exciting.
yeah, thank you. So meanwhile, the attorney entrepreneurs are wondering, Alay, what are you and Chelsea doing? Like, why don't you get to the point of the episode today? You're all talking about.
About ourselves.
About ourselves. Yeah. But, this is one of the changes I talked about when I talked about the podcast starting off the year a little bit differently.
Yeah.
We are going to share more of ourselves in the podcast so you get to know us a little bit. And I think that'll help you get more from these episodes. One of the things you've mentioned, Chelsea, in the last couple episodes was time blocking,
Mm.
which is a technique that's near and dear to my heart as well. We work with clients on it all the time. Um, some clients have a lot of success with it, other clients don't. And time blocking can mean different things to different people. So, when you say time blocking, when we talk about that, what does that mean to you?
Yeah, so time blocking for me is that I am essentially automating my week to have certain appointments or invest certain time or to complete certain tasks at specific times throughout the week. So my week always looks the same on my calendar, with the exception of a couple open, flexible zones and also who I'm actually meeting with or what case I'm working on. So I'll kind of give you a highlight of what I do and then I'll talk about why I think it's beneficial. So I'm a 9 to 5er. I don't generally work or before 9 and I don't generally work after 5. That's my schedule. I'm trying to be as efficient as possible. And luckily, I don't really need to do that too often, depending on the week. But the first half hour of my day is always blocked out to review and assign tasks. So I have tasks that I give my staff, things that I need to follow up on, and kind of create my brief to-do list of what I need to accomplish in that particular day. The last half hour of my day is always a review final emails for the day. Anything that might have come up late in the day that I haven't gotten to. So those half hours are the same essentially every single day of the week. I always mark out an hour for lunch, whether I use it or not. It's giving me that kind of breath in my day to be like, okay, right? Is there any emergencies I need to deal with? Right? Anything that I want to address that I haven't quite gotten to. Those are kind of like the staples that you can see every day. And then the big blocks of my day, like Monday afternoons, are only for mediation clients. It's completely blocked out. If they're not a mediation client, they don't get access to my afternoon on a Monday. Then I have Tuesday afternoons and Thursday mornings blocked out for consults. Will I make exceptions here and there if it makes sense? Yes, but that is where we front load all my consult time and new client intake for my schedule. I have client meetings Wednesday afternoon. On Fridays, I have business coaching and admin meetings, and on Wednesday, Emily and I have our partner meetings. And then I have, Tuesday mornings, Wednesday mornings, and Thursday afternoon that are kind of open. But on Thursdays, I do a big block for education and training where I can read books, listen to podcasts, research a new case. Because if I don't make time for that, I will not get to it. So that's kind of the quick version of what my schedule looks like. But at the end of the day, it really is just what are the 4 things that I need to make time for that if I don't make set time for, it's going to be chaos in a schedule. So for me, it's time with my staff. That's review and respond to tasks, meeting with my staff as necessary, meetings with clients, new client intake, and casework. So I've got to have the time built out where it's the same every week and then there's some flexibility. And then that way my staff also knows when my schedule is light and when they can get some flexibility. But so that's what it kind of looks like, right? At the end of the day, all it does is make my week predictable. I don't have to log in on a Monday and say, do I have casework this afternoon? Do I have client meetings? What do I have on Monday afternoon? No, I only have my mediation clients. If no one's booked, then that time is open and it remains open unless I make an exception. And the hard part about, lawyering, what I'll say is we don't get to control some of our days, meaning
Right.
we have a court calendar that we have to abide by. So some Monday afternoons I might have a hearing. Those things are going to have to move around, but generally speaking, I can avoid that. And this just makes my life more predictable, my staff's life more predictable, and allows me to get more done in those 9 to 5 hours. So one, I don't have to work weekends or evenings, and two, I'm actually getting done the things I want to get done. So that's my very wordy explanation of my time blocking and why I do it. But there's more to it than that. But that's kind of my why and what it looks like.
Yeah, and I like a lot of what you're doing there. First is it's something that You're doing because you feel you need to. It's not something that someone else is telling you to do.
Yeah.
You like it, it works well for you, and so you do it. The way you do it's pretty cool. It uses oh, I don't know where I heard this analogy, but as but when it comes to getting things done and prioritizing your day, think of it like glass jar. You're putting the big rocks in first, which are the big things you want to get
Right.
done, and then you can pour the little pebbles and sand, and it kind of fills in the nooks and crannies and makes
Yeah.
for a full day. And that is a fantastic approach to managing your time. Making sure you carve out time for those really, really important things. There are
Yeah.
some things that some of my clients have dealt with as challenges around time blocking. By the way, I generally don't time block. I have a very different way of scheduling because there's a lot of different ways to manage time, and it has to
Yeah.
work for you. And that's what I love about what we do when we talk about time management. Different things work for different people. So,
Yeah.
attorney entrepreneurs, take what you want from this episode, make it your own. Do what's going to work well, really well for you. So, Chelsea, some of the things that my clients struggle with, I'm going to share with you some of the pitfalls they run into, and you let me know how you deal with them.
Okay.
Okay? All right. So, the first one is when a time block ends, they just keep going. They don't switch
No.
tasks, they don't switch to the next time block.
Oh, no, I do.
How
I'm
do you
like,
do
oh, that's
that?
done. Well, and maybe that's it kind of just depends. I'll give you an example. Like if I have a time block of like, so Monday afternoons, it's 1 to 5 essentially is open for mediation clients. And if I've got two sessions that are either 1 hour or a full afternoon with mediation, and if there's a half hour in between, well, I've got to use that half hour to check on everything else. Right. That's an easy example because those are appointments. But if I go to like my Thursday afternoons where it's just blocked out for education and training, and I'm listening, I make time for a podcast or I'm reading a book or looking something up. I only do about an hour there. And usually it's like, okay, it's 2 o'clock. I need to shift my mind and check my emails. And so you just have to decide why you're time blocking in the first
Mhm.
place. And if your point is, "Oh, I'm doing something and I'm going to still work on this because you're having momentum and it's working for you," then it's okay to let that happen. But you have to remember what you're doing it for. And if you have to move on to the next time block, meaning if I had education and training and the next time block right after that bumps up to it and I need to review and respond to emails for the day and I haven't done that yet, then I need to set that aside and move on to the next task. But if I've been able to, like you kind of said, sprinkle in the work in advance for some other purpose, and I'm really in the mode of research and I'm going down this case and it's interesting and I feel it's helpful, then I get to decide that I get to keep doing it. And so I think how I handle it is no, that's my time and I'm going to move on and I'm not going to open up that time for something else because that would defeat the purpose. But remember why you're doing it and then be flexible with yourself in the right moments when it serves you, not when it serves somebody else, meaning serves a client with not an emergency or maybe is more convenient for somebody else on your team, but it's not more convenient for you. That is the distinction I think I make.
Awesome. Other things that might work if you're someone that's trying to keep to a time block and you see that this is a habit, like your time blocks keep going over, whether it's you're trying to get a certain amount of work done in a fixed amount of time, or you are looking to switch off your time block and do something else, set a timer, right? That
Yeah.
when that thing goes off at the end, it's just as powerful as the reminder to start your time block. So
Yeah.
that's something that works for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Okay, this is kind of all the same thing, this next one, but how do you keep, your morning emergencies from throwing off your day? And how do you keep just unplanned things in general from throwing off your time blocks?
Um, you don't. You just don't freak out about it, I guess. And I say you, I'm not talking about
Yeah,
me.
no, exactly. Yeah.
Like you can't, especially, I mean, depending on your type of firm. I'm a family law firm. So there's certain things that can happen. If I get served with an emergency motion that requires a 24-hour response and that gets served by 10 o'clock, well, guess what I'm doing? I've got to shift some things around. but you just have to make sure you're prioritizing what can and cannot be moved. Meaning, I'm not going to move, I don't necessarily need to move my lunch hour because I need time to refresh, fuel myself, take a breath. But can I move a client meeting that's not necessarily time sensitive and move that somewhere else that makes more sense? Yes, it doesn't have to be a big stressor. So for me, when that happens, when you have to deal with that, I just say, well, this is not ideal because that's not what I normally do on a Tuesday morning. This is what I do. But there's a part of the dynamic of what type of law you do and the schedule you keep that requires you to be flexible. So I let it throw me off, but I don't freak out about it. And I think that's the decision that you have to make within your day. And whether or not, you're in the right type of business structure or law that allows you to do that, right? Because there's lots of people who have law firms and they can structure their day. I think of, you know, estate planning attorneys, they can have a very kind of formula, like a formula based day. They might not have a whole lot of emergencies occasionally. I mean, I don't practice with them if they're litigation or whatever, but if they're just doing kind of the drafting, they can have a very planned day and not a lot of things are going to waiver them. But in family law, you don't really know. Um, so yeah, I let it, but I don't freak out.
Yeah. And it sounds like you're not going to be necessarily working, adding that time on to the end of your day.
Oh no.
So, oh
No, I
no.
don't work after 5, Alay.
Yeah. See, I love that. And I
I,
think that willingness to stick to that time block um drives a lot of behaviors that are related to, successfully growing a law firm and doing it in a way that's healthy. Um, I spend way too much time in traffic in the San Francisco Bay Area, and it's always funny because when I was younger, I would, be one of those people who was like, zipping from lane to lane, boom, 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 trying to get to the next spot as quickly as possible, and all that work of zipping back and forth maybe bought me 2 minutes.
yeah.
And you think
And
about
you were
all the
stressed the whole time.
stress the whole time, right? Like just miserable risk taking, like it's just not good. And that's kind of what it
Yeah.
seems like when people routinely work these long hours.
Yeah.
Like the easy decision is to say, oh no, I'm just going to work and get it done. The harder decision is to say, no, this is my time to stop. I'm going to stop now, even though there's still more that needs to get done. That can wait until tomorrow. And I'm going to go take some me time for me now because I know at the end of the month, it's not going to matter that much. The really important stuff is going to get done.
Mhm.
And yeah, maybe I'll leave a few things on the table, but that's okay. I think that's a lot harder of a choice to make.
Yeah. And, sometimes when you set and this kind of goes to what we talked about, setting boundaries and time, it's all kind of created. But if you respect yourself and your time more than everyone else, right? They respect you for those choices. So, like, I might have mentioned this before, but maybe not. But like, I was volunteering in my daughter's classroom. I had myself blocked. It was a morning that was open, and I put in my away message for opposing counsels, clients to know, like, hey, I'm volunteering in my child's class today, right? Because that reminds people that you I don't necessarily work for you, right? I provide you a service. I work for myself and I provide you a service and I'm going to be available when I'm available and I'm going to do a great job when I'm available and I'm going to meet your deadlines and I'm going to make time for you for your case. But not everything is an emergency just because it's your emergency. And when time blocking really allowed me to do is say to clients, even like, hey, can I meet with you on this day? And say, hey, I'm going to let Alyssa schedule that. She knows my schedule better because I have certain blocks in which I meet with client meetings. And so she'll get you on my schedule. And you kind of like that's what it is. You have to think about when you get your hair cut or you do any other business, their hours are their hours and they meet with certain clients and they do certain things at certain times. Lawyers have to do the same thing. And the biggest benefit that I've seen from time blocking is that I have more time to work on my cases because I'm more efficient and thoughtful about my time. So I actually have more time than just going, what am I going to do now? What am I going to work on now? What am I going to do here? Because that wastes time just thinking about it. I don't have to think about it anymore.
Right. And the walls make the space. So if you put up some limiters, some boundaries, whether it's a time block or something else, that is going to force you to be more efficient than if you just, gave yourself infinite time to work on something, and that infinite time comes at a cost of your health, your well-being, and quite frankly, having a fun and rewarding life. And so, as an attorney entrepreneur, if you're listening to this and you're just horrified and you're thinking, "Oh my God, we need to be there for our clients. I am so dedicated to my clients. I work 24/7 for my clients. I don't take any time off, and that's the way that law has to be practiced." I really, really hope you challenge yourself to think differently about how you practice law because it doesn't have to be that way. And by doing that, you are shortchanging so much in your own life, and your life has value. It has a ton of value. And I think the more that attorneys can realize that and prioritize themselves and their family and understand, like you do, Chelsea, that a law firm is a means to an end. We're going to do life-changing work for our clients. We're going to be amazing at what we do. We're also going to be wonderful people and lead full and rich lives and be well compensated for what we have and enjoy the most out of life. Those two things are not exclusive. They can be done at the same time. And that mindset is so fundamental to changing how attorneys practice law. And I love that you have that mindset already.
Thank you. I mean, I don't know that I was that person when I worked for other people. I wanted to bill a lot. I wanted to do a lot. I didn't have kids. I could kind of make my own schedule, come and go to an extent. But I don't know that I was doing as quality of work as I am now. And I'm also still making more money, meaning like might be billing a little bit less. My team also, has a very 9 to 5 work day, and they're billing, a lot of hours, but efficient hours and quality hours. So, no one has to feel like they need to work a 70-hour work week to be able to live up to my expectations as an employer. When I see somebody in the office later than me, I'm noting it, but I also am like, go home. Go home. It's 5:30. What are you doing? Go home. We're closed. Right? Because if you can't get it, and right, I'm sometimes we work a little bit later. Sometimes,
Sometimes we
right?
do.
Sometimes we have to, there's trial or something comes up. I don't want anyone to think that I'm sitting here going like, oh, absolutely not. I never do that. It's just on an average week, I would say maybe I stay 15, 20 minutes later on a random day. Maybe I get up early and I have a little energy and I answer emails at 6:30 because I'm up and just, having coffee. But it's a choice instead of a have to because I made sure to use my time during the day as best as possible. And it makes sense. It gives me some reprieve to spend that extra 15 minutes finishing something. I'm like, oh, great. Now that's done. I don't have to worry about tomorrow. And, I definitely have employees that put in hours to get stuff done for me, and I appreciate them very much. But it's not the difference maker in how successful my firm is.
Agreed. And it
Yeah.
won't be for anyone else either, by the way.
No.
Um, Thanks to our sponsor for this episode, Counsel CPAs. They do back office operations for law firms. So think of AR collecting all those receivables, bookkeeping, and tax preparation. They're fantastic. They only work with law firms, and they're based out of LA. So reach out to them. They would love to hear from you. Chelsea, great talking with you again. Thanks for
Yeah.
being on the show. We'll
Yeah.
talk to you again
Thanks.
soon.
All right.
And that's a wrap for this episode of the Lawyer Business Advantage podcast. One thing that would really help both us and other new potential listeners is for you to rate this show and leave a comment in iTunes, Stitcher, or wherever you tune in to listen. And I want to hear from you, so connect with me on LinkedIn and let me know what you think of this episode. And if you are a solo or an owner of a small law firm and you're looking to earn more money, attract better clients, or reduce your stress, we would love to talk with you to see how we can help. Request your free law firm assessment by visiting lawfirmsuccessgroup.com. Again, that URL is lawfirmsuccessgroup.com. We look forward to talking with you soon. Thank you for listening. My name is Alay Yajnik. Until next time, remember, you can seize freedom. You can embrace happiness. You can build your perfect practice.